Hey everybody, it's Ron from Ron's Basement. Thank you for joining me today. We will be talking about 3M, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. I have to disclose that we own some 3M stock. We have for years and years and years. So I do have an interest in this company. But what I'm going to do for you today is analyze the balance sheet. And for those of you that don't know, the balance sheet is a kind of a financial snapshot of a company at a given point in time. And the numbers I'm going to be looking at are from December of 2019. So we're not going to be looking at the the revenues and the profits and the expenses of the company. We're going to be looking at a financial snapshot of the company. Real similar to, if at any given period of time you sat down with your significant other and looked at your financial situation. If you looked at, your assets that you own, let's say your house, your cars, your retirement accounts, your bank accounts, anything else of value that you might have, if you added all that up and then subtracted from that the debt that you have, credit card debt, mortgages, car loans, whatever, if you took all the value of all those assets and took out the amount of debt that you have, what you would have left over would be your equity, the part that you actually own in all those assets. And that's what a balance sheet is for a large corporation like 3M. So let's take a look at 3M's balance sheet. I think you might just find a few things that are interesting. Come on over to the whiteboard with me. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Like I said, we're going to be taking a look at 3M. That is also their stock symbol. And we're going to do some real BS analysis. And we're going to find out, does that BS stand for balance sheet or something else? Let's dig in and find out. Okay, so let's start here. First off, 3M is fortunate. They have $13 billion worth of current assets, which are real assets. Current assets include things like cash, accounts receivable. They basically have a bank account worth $13 billion. That's a lot of money. And that's great that they have that on their balance sheet. They also have about $10 billion of PP&E, property, plant, and equipment. That is net of depreciation, so that's the amount that they actually show on their balance sheet that they have owned, and it is just that, property, plant, equipment. Could include like their corporate headquarters, manufacturing facilities, cars, trucks, anything real, and it's all real stuff. So again, that's great. They also have that. But then we run into a little problem, because next on their balance sheet they have $13 billion in Goodwill. And you might ask yourself, what is that? What does Goodwill mean? Doesn't mean the Goodwill store. What is Goodwill? Well, Goodwill is typically like a premium that they'd paid in the past to maybe acquire another company, but it doesn't represent anything. What it really almost represents is more like good feelings, or good vibes, or good luck. I don't know, but it's definitely not anything real or tangible. You can't go to the 3M headquarters and say, "Hey, I'd like to check out your Goodwill." They'd probably look at you funny and not understand. So they've got this $13 billion worth of Goodwill on their balance sheet, and then to make matters even a little more concerning, they have $7 billion, or close to, in intangible assets. And I kind of rounded those two numbers. When you add them up together, it comes to close to $20 billion. But nonetheless, let's talk about intangible assets. I think by definition, if you break the word down, tangible means something real, something you can touch, something you can see. The prefix N means not. So it means these are things that you can't touch or see. They are, for lack of a better way to describe them, we'll call them make-believe. So they have not only $13 billion in good feelings on their balance sheet, but they also have $7 billion in make-believe assets. Now, granted, there is a value to the 3M brand, to the 3M name. I guess the argument could be made that to the extent that can put a number can be put to that, or the fancy word for that is quantified, that would be added into one of those goodwill intangible areas. But at the end of the day, goodwill, good feelings, and intangible make-believe aren't real things. And when you add up all the assets on their balance sheet, you come to $44 billion. That's a big number. But when you back out the good feelings and the make-believe, $20 billion, you come to only $24 billion in real assets, real things, cash, accounts receivable, property, plant, and equipment, all that good stuff. You come to about $24 billion. And here's where the problem comes up. When you go down a little further and you look at how much debt they have, 3M, unfortunately, like many other large companies, has taken on a lot of debt in the last decade. They have $34 billion in debt. Now, if you haven't noticed already, allow me to point out to you that 34, which represents their debt, is a larger number than the 24, which is their real assets. So 3M, from a real asset, from a tangible asset perspective, is upside down. That would be equity. That kind of looks like equitis, but that's supposed to say equity. They're negative $10 billion when you just factor in their real assets less the real debt that they have. They have a negative $10 billion in equity. And the scary part to that is when you look at their market cap, when you look at the value the market has put on that negative $10 billion in equity, it's $93 billion as of today, which is February 11th, 2020. So my argument would be that, I'm going to give 3M, even though I own the stock and I think it's a neat company, an F- on their balance sheet. This is ridiculous. If something happens down the road that's maybe going to interfere with their ability to generate revenue and profits, and people start to look like, what's the real value of this company? What they're going to find out is that when you look at the real balance sheet, they're upside down. It's not dissimilar to, I'll use this quick example, and I'll try to use the numbers included here. Let's say I have an earth-moving business. I'm a bulldozer operator. I work for myself, and I have a bulldozer that's worth $240,000. It's a fancy bulldozer, a really nice big bulldozer, and times are good right now. A lot of buildings going on, so I've got a lot of business, and I'm busy. But I have, because I've rolled over some debt or whatever, I have $340,000 in debt on my bulldozer. Okay, but like I said, times are good. So I'm making money with my bulldozer and making a profit and trying to pay the debt down. But at the end of the day, I'm upside down. But since things are going good, it's not a big deal. The bank's not worried about it. I'm able to bulldoze. But then a year from now, things slow down and there's not as much building going on. Not as many people are calling me to come bulldoze for them. But I still have my $240,000 bulldozer that I owe $340,000 on. I'm in deep trouble. And I'm afraid that with 3M and some of the other large companies out there, large quote-unquote blue-chip companies that have taken on huge amounts of debt over the last 10 years to kind of financially engineer their financial statements and make things appear to be good, that when the times, when times get a little rougher, when the economy slows down and they have a disruption to their revenue streams or profit streams, that people could be in for a world of hurt. And we've already kind of begun to see this with 3M. Their stock is down pretty significantly from its all-time high. So I just wanted to point that out. I hope you found this interesting. I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but at the end of the day, you've got a lot of companies out there that have way more debt than they do assets. And I know they can generate profit and pay dividends still, blah, blah, blah. However, man, if we get any kind of disruption, and I'm sorry I'm repeating myself, but if we get any kind of disruption, some of these companies are going to be in for a world of hurt. Just take a look at General Electric as an example. So thanks for watching. I hope you found my video interesting. I hope maybe you learned something, and I hope you have a great day.